Day to you. I hope that everyone who celebrated Passover had a good one, a happy Easter, and if you're celebrating Ramadan, that you continue to enjoy this blessed month with your family and your loved ones. I want to speak briefly about the mayor's $99.7 billion executive budget that he released on Tuesday. While we're still examining the details, we do recognize and appreciate that it includes many of the funding priorities that the council put forward in our preliminary budget response. I'm thankful to my colleagues in the council for making their priorities known and coming together to speak with one unified voice about the needs of our districts and communities across this city. The executive budget incorporates our demands on housing assistance and homeless services by adding $177 million for safe havens, stabilization beds, drop-in centers, and street outreach, $118 million for City FEP's rental assistance vouchers, and $40 million for emergency assistance grants to help people who fall behind on rent and other costs. We also secured investments in summer youth programs and mental health emergency responses. However, despite these bright spots, there are continuing areas of concern and interest for this council. The areas of focus for us continue to be affordable and supportive housing development, which we know is key for New Yorkers, ensuring adequate health and mental health services for communities across this city, year-round programs for youth, sanitation services, benefit and opportunity programs for our older adults, immigrant and working-age New Yorkers, as well as supports for our public school students who need it. We as a council know there is more work to be done to add essential investments in certain areas and scrutinize spending decisions in others to ensure that New York City has the budget our communities need to be safe, healthy, and to thrive. That's what we're going to do, because it's what New Yorkers elected us to do. With that said, we'll move on to today's stated agenda. We will be voting on the following land use items: New Providence redevelopment, a request by HPD to make certain project findings to facilitate a new 21-story building to include a medical clinic, approximately 171 shelter beds, 130 housing units, 79 supportive units, and 51 affordable units in Majority Leader Powers District. Our Lady of Pity rezoning will facilitate the construction of 2 new 9-story affordable multifamily buildings. It will include 205 housing units, 100% of which will be affordable, and Land Use Chair Salamanca's district. 1220 Avenue P rezoning will facilitate the development of a 4-story, approximately 11,000 square foot expansion to the Levitt Medical Center in Councilmember Fernikov's district. Sutter Avenue rezoning will facilitate the development of a 5-story mixed-use commercial and affordable housing building with 28 units. The council is modifying the application to ensure the lower-income MIH options and reduce the rezoning area to preserve the neighboring small homes in Councilmember Barron's district. 3285 Fulton Street rezoning will facilitate the development of a new 7-story mixed-use community facility and residential building. It will include 33 affordable senior housing units. The council is modifying the application to ensure the lower-income MIH options and reduce the zoning area to preserve the neighboring 3-story mixed-use buildings in Councilmember Nurse's district. 1034 through 1042 Atlantic Avenue rezoning will facilitate the construction of 2 new mixed-use commercial and residential buildings, a 17-story building on Atlantic Avenue and a 9-story building on Pacific Street, which will together include 210 housing units. The council will be modifying the application to ensure the lower-income MIH options and reduce the rezoning area to maintain a mix of residential and industrial uses in a community-wide plan until a community-wide plan is implemented. 870 to 888 Atlantic Avenue rezoning will facilitate the construction of a 17-story mixed-use commercial and residential building with approximately 228 housing units. The council will be modifying applications to ensure the lower-income MIH options. Next, we will also vote on the following finance options. Introduction 47 will establish the Castle Hill Business Improvement District in Councilmember Farias's council district. The proposed bid would include properties along Castle Hill Avenue and along Westchester Avenue, and is centered around the Castle Hill Avenue 6 train station. The bid projects a first-year budget of $300,000 and proposes to offer such services as marketing, holiday lighting, street cleaning, graffiti removal, administration, and advocacy services. Introduction 73 would establish the West Village Business Improvement District in Councilmember Botch's council district. The proposed bid would include properties on 5 major commercial strips: 7th Avenue South, Avenue of the Americas West Side only, Bleecker Street, Christopher Street, and West 4th Street. The bid projects a first-year budget of $600,000 and proposes to offer such services as marketing, holiday lighting, street cleaning, graffiti removal, administration, and advocacy services. Resol 137 would grant a 40-year Article 11 property tax exemption to 13 through 12 Beach Channel Drive, located in Far Rockaway in Majority Whit Brooks Powers District. The development would consist of a single 8-story building that would include both a 100-bed shelter and 147 units of affordable supportive housing. Moving on, we will be voting on the following resolutions and legislation. First, we will have some immigration-related resolutions sponsored by our Immigration Committee Chair, Councilmember Shahana Hanif. Resolution 84-A calls for the passage of Coverage for All, which would create a state-funded essential plan for low-income individuals currently ineligible for insurance due to their immigration status. The state's essential plan has provided health coverage to almost 1 million enrollees at a savings to New Yorkers of almost $1.5 billion a year. However, it currently excludes many immigrants because of their immigration status. The state legislation, sponsored by Senator Gustavo Rivera and Assemblymember Richard Gottfried, would build upon the success of the Essential Plan by expanding coverage for health care services to individuals whose immigration status renders them ineligible for federal financial participation. This would give more immigrant New Yorkers access to preventative care that could otherwise be costly. While H&H currently provides care regardless of insurance status, emergency room visits can be expensive, and when the provider is not compensated, they must absorb the cost. Expanded health coverage, regardless of immigration status, would allow more New Yorkers to see timely preventative care and reduce the financial burden on our healthcare system. More importantly, it could save the lives of New Yorkers, many of whom are essential workers and have played a key role in battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Resol 112 would call on the New York State Legislature to pass the New York for All Act, which broadly prohibits state and local officers from enforcing federal immigration laws, funneling people into ICE custody, and sharing information with federal immigration authorities. It also prohibits ICE and Customs and Border Protection from entering non-public areas of state and local property without a judicial warrant, ensures people in custody are given notice of their rights before being interviewed by ICE, and starts the process of limiting ICE and Customs and Border Protection access to state immigration databases. New York City was a leader in passing similar legislation, but currently the city and state laws are not in alignment. Many immigrants may be unwilling to interact with government entities since their immigration status could put them at risk of federal enforcement. If the state were to pass the New York for All Act, immigrants could enjoy the same protections at the city and state levels, confident that their immigration status would not be disclosed to ICE and CBP. Next, the Council will vote on Introduction 14A, sponsored by Councilmember Justin Brannan, which would require the Division of Economic and Financial Opportunity within the New York City Department of Small Business Services and the Mayor's Office of Contract Services to use the most recent data available when considering revisions to the citywide MWBE participation goals. This bill would require the agencies to use more current data in conducting future disparity studies in order to evaluate the implementation and effectiveness of the MWBE program and direct efforts to increase the capacity of MWBEs. I invite Councilmember Brannan to come forward and speak about his bill.
Thank you, Speaker. This was actually a bill an idea that was brought to us, a problem that was brought to us in my former role as chair of the Contracts Committee last session. This is really an idea that came from advocates, which oftentimes is the best sort of legislation. I'm certainly grateful to Mayor Adams as being focused on lifting up our city's minority and women-owned businesses, because there's still a lot of work to do. In a time when there is a critical ongoing conversation around racial and economic justice across our country, we're still not talking nearly enough about the fact that local governments distribute a tremendous amount of money, and either that money can continue to reinforce the current economic status quo, or we can use it to support our city's small businesses, and including our vibrant MWBEs. So as we work to reach equity, it's important that we ensure that we're using current and holistic data to set goals that don't lag behind reality. This is because MWBEs already face significant challenges and obstacles when it comes to obtaining government contracts. So when the city uses outdated data, which skews towards fewer city-contracted MWBEs, the city can get away with setting modest goals and then calling it progress. What we all want is real progress. We don't want any more fake victory laps when it comes to MWBEs, and we believe that requiring the Department of Small Business Services and the Mayor's Office of Contract Services to use the most recent data available when considering revisions to the citywide goals will get us closer to what we're trying to do here. So I thank the Speaker very much for prioritizing this legislation and getting it done, and I think it's going to really do a lot of good for our city's MWBEs. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councilmember Brannan. Finally, the Council will vote on Introduction 134A, which would amend Local Law 32, also known as the Salary Transparency Law. Local Law 32 makes it an unlawful discriminatory practice to post any job listing that does not include the minimum and maximum salary offered for the position. The purpose of that local law was to bring more transparency to job seekers and help eliminate inherent bias in setting employee salaries. The law is scheduled to go into effect next month. In order to improve the successful implementation of Local Law 32, this bill clarifies the types of positions the law applies to, limits any unintended consequences for small businesses and nonprofit organizations that may lack significant back office operations, and maintains strong salary transparency requirements. Intro 134A clarifies that the salary transparency law applies to positions that are paid an hourly wage, in addition to those with an annual salary. It also provides employers with the opportunity to cure first-time violations before a monetary fine is issued. In order to provide additional time for improved and successful compliance, it extends the effective date for the requirements to take effect by 6 months. This bill ensures jobs performed virtually in New York or for New York employers are covered by the law. Finally, the legislation seeks to protect against incentivizing excessive litigation against small businesses by exclusively using the Commission on Human Rights Enforcement and fines rather than permitting private lawsuits, with an exception for current employees to maintain the ability to sue their employer. This legislation took lots of time and lots of conversations with all stakeholders, striking a balance to reach agreement between pay equity advocates who champion this bill and the small business community. It is an example of how the legislative process can and should work. The Council brings both sides of an issue together to engage in the meaningful and substantive details of a bill, listens to concerns to make an assessment, and arrives at a better bill that everyone can support. I applaud and I am proud of Prime Sponsor and Civil and Human Rights Committee Chair Natasha Williams, who led this process through hearings and many, many deliberations with stakeholders, and co-Prime Sponsor Councilmember Justin Brannan. I invite her and her co-prime sponsor, Councilmember Brannan, to say a few words about this critical piece of legislation. Councilmember Williams.
Good afternoon, and it's always an honor when the speaker's proud of you. And so, as chair of chair of the Civil and Human Rights Committee, it's an honor to be here. Last session, the committee heard Intro 1208B, now known as Local Law 32, in relations to prohibiting employers from posting job listings without minimum and maximum salary information. The committee received testimony from the New York City Commission on Human Rights, advocates, and members of the public. A vote was held in December 2021, and Local Law 32 was enacted. The purpose of that law was to bring more transparency to job seekers and help eliminate inherent bias in setting employees' salaries. After receiving feedback from the business community regarding concerns that compliance with Local Law 32 may be burdensome for some business owners and lack some clarity on who must comply, Intro 134 was drafted and aimed to clarify what type of positions and job postings we intend to cover. As the bill sponsor of this legislation, this bill serves as an opportunity to expand on landmark measures which were critical to the fight in economic equity that we have fought so hard for and remain inclusive of every New Yorker. After listening carefully to remarks from advocates and the business community on April 5th regarding Intro 134, an action which considers provisions for small business owners that may have not had the ability to carry out the employee and salary actions in advance as their big business counterparts, we have worked to reach an end that reflects the needs of everyone. As a Black woman and sponsor of this bill, equal pay is vital, and ensuring that we get this right is equally as important. I have always advocated for women and communities of color and the underdog throughout my career. I would like to thank the advocates, my colleagues, Councilmember Justin Brannan for a spirited discussion on this legislation, and of course, Speaker Adams for her leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, the livelihoods of New Yorkers are not a TV game show where the true salary is hidden behind a magical door if you just guess which one is the right one. We need to respect that a person has a right to determine whether they will be able to pay rent and support their family when they apply for a job. And there's no question that identifying systemic pay inequities will become a lot easier once this bill is passed and all the cards are on the table. So as people get back to work, the council cannot think of a better time to level the playing field and restore some dignity to New Yorkers seeking employment. As the first co-sponsor of the original salary transparency bill with Council Member Helen Rosenthal, I know the successful implementation of this law is paramount to advancing equity. That's just a fancy way of saying it was important that we got this right. And by bringing together the stakeholders on all sides to support this law, I think we achieved something extraordinary here in New York City that will foster the long-term effectiveness of salary transparency law. And I think all New Yorkers will benefit from the broad support of this law, but especially those who have long faced wage inequities, making this a huge step forward for New York City. I want to commend my colleague, Chairwoman Williams, as well as the Speaker, for really bringing all stakeholders to the table, which is rare these days in politics when we're in this sort of my way or the highway brand of politics, bringing all the stakeholders, all the parties to the table, and ultimately coming up with a better bill for all sides. And that is really a testament to the mission of this council under Speaker Adams. So I'm excited to get this done today. Thank you, Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. We can take some on-topic questions first.
I got a couple of questions, one for the speaker. On the budget, you mentioned some things you want to examine, things you'd like to see added. What is your ceiling overall for how high the city's budget could go? I mean, and just for example, housing. Do you think certain areas need to be reduced to pay for kind of what you're thinking should be in there? Do you think with the revenue projections we've got coming in, the budget could be us some more specifics on how you want this done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you very much for it. Particularly when it comes to the area of housing, I believe that we've got to talk about it a lot more and really understand the significance of what it will mean to so many New Yorkers that need it, that need the supportive housing in particular. And yes, there may be a prospect where we may look at hiring that number, increasing that number, because in these days, again, we are still trying to climb out of this pandemic. People are sleeping on the trains. People are still in encampment areas. We are trying to, make their lives a lot better. We can't do that without housing for them. So I believe that as we continue on in these negotiations, that it may perhaps come up that that number will have to be increased. Thank you.
My second question is for Councilwoman Williams and Councilman Brannan. On this pay transparency bill, some people say that it's a watered down version. I heard you guys. It sounds like you put a lot of hard work into making this work and doing the best you can on that. How would you respond to those folks who say this is watered down? This is a watered down version of the one that was passed previously.
You want to take it?
Hi. Are you referencing local law 32, the original law? Or are you referencing our original introduction?
The new bill that refers to that already
And-
passed.
Okay. So, when you say watered down, I think I'm a little struck by that word. I don't think it's watering down the bill. I think it's making the necessary changes to clarify what we intend. So it's not a watering down. I believe this is a clarification bill, and that's what we did today. If you have anything else.
Yeah, and look, I think the advocates did their job, right? The advocate's job is to, I was the prime co-sponsor of the original bill. There's no way in hell I was going to gut my own bill, right? There's no way in hell the speaker wanted to gut the bill. It was just about bringing folks to the table, and different advocacy organizations have their strategy of how they're going to get what they want. And ultimately, which was really rare, again, in politics these days, where we brought everyone to the table and everyone went away happy and satisfied. And I wouldn't call it a compromise. I think we actually came out with a better bill, a bill that's actually going to target the folks that we're after, not going to target, Joe's Pizza, and actually going to go after and even if it does target the wrong people, now they have an opportunity to correct that. So I think, I respect the advocates. We all do. I think we all came from that world, but everyone has a different approach for how they get things done. So words like gutted, watered down, I get it, I respect it, but ultimately that's not what happened. And ultimately, some of the advocates who were against the A version are now proudly and publicly in support of where we landed. So I think that's testament to Speaker's leadership, to the Chair's leadership, to really bringing folks to the table and hammering this out over the past 2 months.
Also on that bill, I'm curious why a 6-month delay is needed for implementation. Employers knew this was going to be coming down the pipe when it was passed in December. What sort of 6-month delay give employers time to do to comply? Why is that length of delay needed?
So I think this bill was passed along with a flurry of bills at the end of last session. It was sort of a mad dash when you have 40-something members who are outgoing, who want to get stuff done, important stuff. It was a flurry of legislation that got done at the end of last session. So and what the Speaker alluded to before was that a lot of businesses don't have the HR department and the team, the infrastructure, to now start listing all the salaries and figuring out the salary requirements and the salary ranges. So it's just about giving folks time to get it done. And then once it's enacted, there's still going to be a relief in place so that if there's a first offense, you'll have the chance to rectify it. So, this isn't a gotcha bill. This is something that's we're already seeing other parts of the state are copying this bill. We're getting calls from across the country about this bill. As goes New York, so goes the country. So getting this right was important. And and delaying it for a couple of months to get it right when this is going to be a bill that's in effect forever wasn't a lot of time. And I think giving the smaller businesses that don't have the infrastructure to immediately tomorrow start posting salary requirements was the reason why we decided to delay it a little bit longer.
Can I just add one thing, that it also gives the agency time. So as many know, CCHR is historically underfunded. And so this also allows the agency to do the proper outreach to the business community and to put the correct protocols in place to actually enforce the law that we're passing today.
Any more on-topic questions? Okay, moving on to off-topic. Adina?
Hi.
So I wanted to ask about the panel for educational policy. Yesterday night, they voted to reject this fair student funding formula that is the main source of funding for individual school budgets. I wanted to know what your thoughts are about that and how that'll impact schools, and council members William and Brandon weigh in on that as well.
Yeah, we are aware what went on last night. The council's looking into this now. We're looking into how this is going to impact our schools. We, of course, are concerned, but we're looking into it now and will monitor the effect that it will have on our schools.
And actually, agency officials and union leaders have expressed concerns about a system-wide disruption because this is like a main source of funding for schools. Do you feel the same way? Are you concerned about that?
The concern is definitely there. The council worked very, very hard on this particular aspect for our schools. And again, it is a concern to us, and our eyes will be on the impact. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you could address the council members, or is it all the?
No,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
good.
you two as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Wanna
what-
say anything?
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Oh, you're good?
that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, any more off-topic? Ethan?
The mayor has spoken a lot about wanting to extend mayoral accountability for public schools. Wanting to know what the council's on that.
Well, mayoral accountability is important. I believe that, and I was listening to the mayor's comments. Both the mayor and the chancellor come from the school system, and we would definitely still like to see that happen.
Julianne?
Hi, Speaker. I was wondering if you could comment on a story that we did the other day that revealed Sylvana Brooks Powers' 17 speed camera tickets, especially in the context of the mayor's $900 million budget for the streets plan, and specifically saying he wants to get reckless drivers off the streets.
Yeah, what I will say about that is that Councilmember Brooks Powers holds her own accountability for that, and she definitely, I believe she responded very well to the article itself in saying that she will do better. Things were brought to her attention, and we live and grow. Everyone makes mistakes. No one is infallible. So my response pretty much is that we live and grow through our mistakes, and I believe that her response was actually a very, very good one in saying that she is accountable for her actions and that she will do better, and this has helped her to grow.
My one follow-up is the comments that you made a few months ago on NYCC about the speed camera program. Has your feelings or thoughts on those systems changed at all over the course of advocates rallying for home rule and for lowering the speed limit or anything like that?
Well, again, coming from Queens and a total, a transit desert pretty much, I still believe that the focus should be on red light cameras, which I've said in the past. We have to ensure that their placement is correct to promote safer streets. The placement right now that we have, I think also that the placement that we have right now and the enforcement, I think that the city needs to and should be more of the responsible entity as far as the timing is concerned with the cameras that are in place as well. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, there's been a great deal of attention on tax returns over the last couple of weeks. Will you release your taxes? And should the council pass legislation requiring citywide officials to make theirs publicly available?
My taxes are very boring. just to be perfectly honest with you. We file pretty early, and we do follow all requirements. If there is anything above and beyond, the necessary requirements, we will look at doing that. Again, we're a very, very boring household, so we do comply with what is needed, but if there is anything over and above, we're taking a look at it.
Your two predecessors, Corey Johnson and Melissa Mark-Viverito, released their taxes. Why not continue on with that tradition?
Why would I not follow that? I didn't say that I would not.
No. I said, why not make the commitment?
Oh, why not make a commitment? I might, but it won't be today.
Thank you.
Thank you all.